I've reviewed several different smart feeders on this very channel. And while each smart feeder has its own quirks, has its own pros and cons, for the most part, all of the different smart feeders are very similar. However, the Humbirdy, this smart bird feeder has a feature that none of the other smart bird feeders has. Can you guess what it is? Let's do this. The first thing that we need to do is we need to get this smart bird feeder unboxed, put together, filled up, and then set it out and let's get some birds. So we got user manuals, very important. We have the solar panel that I love. That way you don't have to worry about charging your units. You just put it out, let the unit recharge. We have some of the normal hardware in here. This is typically to put the feeder together. We do have a charger for the feeder. This is just to charge it up before you put it out and rely on the solar panel. We have a strap in here, and this strap is so if you want to put it on a tree. I typically don't use these because a lot of times it's hard to stop squirrels when you use the belt around the tree. This is the main feeder unit here, and literally the first thing that I will tell you is getting out of this box is this thing is solid. It is actually made out of metal. It's not the typical plastic that you see in smart bird feeders, so +1 on this just because of just having the metal and just being like super sturdy. Also, if you do get squirrels, you won't worry about them chewing through this like they have to a lot of my other smart bird feeders that are made out of plastic, so really excellent touch on the metal. This does have another feeder mount here. I do really like these. Basically what this is, it allows you to put the feeder on the bottom here, and it allows the feeder to turn. So if you wanted to go to a, let's say a different angle instead of facing straight on. So let's move this. So this is the straight on view. If you were looking at it straight on, and then you can actually tilt it. So if you wanted to turn it all the way looking to the right, you can change the direction of the feeder. And this is very nice if you put it up. Just it has another added way to make sure that you can have the feeder like facing your house. And that way you can see the bird species that come to it. So the first thing that I always do is I always peel off this extra plastic. I know it's great for shipping, but it's not good for birds. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach this perch, and basically this slides right down in here, and we have just a little screw here that we're gonna put in here and secure it. All right, so that is on, and the feeder is kind of ready to go here. We just need to set up the camera and make sure it's connected to our Wi-Fi, and that way we can access everything on our phone. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to get the smart bird feeder connected to our Wi-Fi and connected to the app so that we can view the birds through our phone. Now, it does recommend to charge the feeder 8 to 10 hours before you set it up. So make sure that you charge it up completely before you rely solely on the solar panel. So the way to get this thing set up is you're going to go here in the top with this camera right here, and there is a little power button up here, and we're going to hold that down and start the camera up right now. So you should have heard a little chime, and that's to know that this thing is turned on. So next, we're gonna go ahead and we're going to download the Humbirdy app on our phone, and that way we can connect to the camera. So to download the app, if you go into your Android Play Store or your Apple Play Store, you can actually download the Humbirdy app. Now, the other option that they give you that I love that they include on this is in the instruction booklet, there's actually a QR code that you can scan. There's actually a QR code on the side of the box. So let's go ahead and we're gonna scan this QR code right here. And it's going to take us directly to download the app. So we're gonna go ahead and download the app right now. Go ahead and install it. Once you install the app, it's going to ask you to create an account. We're going to create an account, and then we're going to connect the phone to our smart bird feeder. Once you create an account, it's going to send you a verification email to the email that you use to sign up for it. So once you verify your email, then we're gonna be able to get into the Humbirdy app and set up the smart bird feeder. All right, so now we have been into the app, and basically right here on the home screen, we're gonna get the option. It says no devices. Obviously we haven't set the camera up yet. So go ahead, make sure that you allow the notifications, and go ahead and click the plus sign. And this is going to search for one of the cameras. So Right now it's searching automatically. Let's see if we're gonna be able to find this camera. So it wasn't able to automatically connect to the smart bird feeder. I was able to go down and manually select the type of smart bird feeder. It did actually prompt me to do another step, and that was to press the power button twice, and that put it in a mode that it was able to find it. So now it was able to find it, and now we're going to connect it to our Wi-Fi. All right, so once you get the device connected, it will give you a few prompts and it'll actually walk you through the next steps. So it's going to talk to you about how to install the bird feeder and installing the solar panel. So now that we got this connected to our app, we can actually be able to see a live view of our camera phone, or I'm sorry, of our smart bird feeder. So let's take a look. Yes, you can see it, and as I move around, you can actually see it moving around. So we're now all connected to the app, and we're going to review the app a little bit later in this video. But for now, let's go ahead. We're going to mount this camera. So let's get this camera mounted and filled, and then that way we can get some birds. So now it's time to mount the camera. Now, I do want to take one step back. I did realize that during my previous opening and unboxing, one of the things that I forgot to put on the feeder was this antenna, and it was one of the things that was down in the box. I completely missed it, but I just wanted to reiterate. So this goes right on the back. There's a little slot right here on the back. So all you need to do is just twist this guy in here, and this just helps for your Wi-Fi connection and being able to connect to the smart feeder itself. So now we're going to go into the next step, which is to mount the camera. Like I previously stated, it does come with a small belt or band, and this is meant to wrap around a tree or a post. What I'm using is I'm actually using a pole here, and this actually would be sufficient for the pole. I do use something just a little bit differently, and I've been using these on several smart feeders and other bird feeder accessories throughout my yard. But these are just little hose clamps, basically for your washer and dryer and little things like that. So I use these little hose clamps, and essentially it does the same thing as the belt does. It's just a little bit smaller, and it's just a little bit more compact, and it's easier to use, in my opinion. So that's what we're going to be using. So for the first part of this, we're going to take the base, and this is what we showed previously, and this is kind of how the feeder sits on here. It just sits right here on the base, and you can actually turn it. So what we're basically doing is we're putting this base against our pole, post, or tree, depending on what you're using. So we're going to go ahead and get this mounted. I will tell you, like I said before, there are different ways that you can move the feeder, and that way it points towards your house. So my house goes out this way, and just being able to look out the window and see the feeder, you are able to move the feeder, but I still like to have it kind of pointed straight out or straight on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to face it towards the house, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on the actual pole. While I'm attaching this part to the pole of my feeder, I do want to reiterate having a squirrel baffle. I'm one of those people that I've had multiple problems with squirrels over the years, so I'm always very adamant about making sure to keep the squirrels off. Sorry, squirrel people. I want birds, I don't want squirrels. So now we have this attached, and this is pretty tight against this pole. And essentially what this is it's going to be holding the feeder here. So let's go ahead and put the feeder on there. All right, and as you can see, this is going to just drop straight down into here. And as you set it on here, again, there's another little a little protruding mark, and that's what you can actually like turn this feeder for, and it actually will sit right on that, if I can get it lined up correctly. But we're going to go back to kind of the front direction, and there it is. The feeder is now up. So the next part is we're going to go ahead and fill the feeder and get this thing all filled up. One of the first things that I like to do on a lot of smart feeders, and if you do have some of the extension kits on the end of some of them, such as like a Hummingbird feeder or some of the other feeders that come in this, you might not do this precisely, but what I like to do is I like to tilt this camera all the way down, so I face it down as far as I can possibly go. And the reason for that is a lot of these, when they get up close to here, you can see them very well when they're on the perch, but they'll end up getting up here and they'll start eating the seed, and it kind of blocks them off. You can't see their face. So I always recommend to push the camera down as far as it can possibly go, and then that will make sure that you can get the entirety of the bird when the bird is filling on the, or eating on the feeder, excuse me. So the next thing, like I said, is going to be to fill the feeder. So this particular feeder, it actually has a stopper on the top, so it doesn't just pop up. Sometimes this is a good thing, sometimes this is a bad thing. It just means that there is an extra step when you go to fill this bird feeder. So on the back side, you can see there's this little screw here, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to unscrew this in the back, and then you are able to pop this right up, and then you can fill the seed in here. So we're gonna go ahead and get this filled and get this up, and then hopefully we can check out the app and see how the app works in relation to our smart bird feeder. So we're gonna go ahead and get this feeder filled up. I do want to reiterate that having good seed or good seed mixes is going to be highly beneficial. It's going to make sure and ensure that you get the most amount of bird species that comes to your feeder. Obviously, the whole point of having a smart bird feeder is being able to review it and see the birds that come to your bird feeder. This is actually some really good stuff that I enjoy. Shout out to Cool Birds here for some of their bird seed. They've reached out a while back, and I've done a few videos on them. But the main thing that you're looking for is a good seed mix that isn't filled with a bunch of filler seeds. So red millet, white millet, cracked corn, these are all filler seeds that a lot of normal wild bird mixes include, and a lot of birds just don't like them. They don't prefer them, and what ends up happening is not only does the feeder get kind of stale and the seed just sits there, it just gets wasted, and then you end up not getting as many bird species. So this particular seed mix has sunflower hearts, it has black oil sunflower seeds, it has peanuts, and just a few other things that birds prefer. So I just always highly recommend, you know, doing half the battle and making sure that you have seed that is going to attract the bird species, and that way with a smart bird feeder, you can make sure that you're viewing all those birds. So let's go ahead and get this feeder filled up. So after I had filmed my initial installation or mounting video, I realized that I forgot a step, and I actually suffered the consequences of that. So when you actually put this feeder on the bracket like I was talking about, there's actually a little screw piece that they include in this. So if you don't want your feeder to fall off and have some deer and squirrels eating out of your feeder, I highly recommend making sure that you don't forget the screw, and this will actually go right underneath the bottom, and it just screws right on underneath the feeder here, and that way your feeder's not gonna fall off. So just wanted to include this, something that I did forget while I was filming the mounting. And finally, we're gonna discuss the feature that I mentioned in the beginning of the video and why this smart bird feeder sets itself apart from all the other smart bird feeders. So if you go into the Humbirdy app, we can now see kind of across the board a lot of events that have taken place. So if you look in the home screen, you're going to basically be able to see all the events that have triggered the camera, or little small times that a bird showed up to the feeder, or a squirrel, or a person, or anything like that that it's set up to where it's going to trigger the camera. Now, if you look at the bottom, we're going to be on home. And like I said, home is going to show you if you had other Humbirdy smart feeders, this is where they would show up, and you're going to be able to see each different camera here. You're also going to be able to see all the different events, like I said before, that have showed up at your feeder. The next option at the bottom of the app is the collection. And essentially what this is a running tally or a life list of all the bird species that have visited your bird feeder. So what you can do is when you go to your homepage and you're going through your events, if you have a new bird species that has visited your backyard, you can actually take that species and you can add it to your collection. So for instance, we're going to take this white-breasted nuthatch. So we're going to click play, and this is going to bring up the normal video. You can watch the video. This is in where you're able to do the slow-mo effect by slowing down the footage of the bird. But what we're actually going to do for the collection piece is at the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the option to hit collect. And this is going to load, and it's going to actually save this species into our collection. And essentially, like I said, that this is a running tally of all the different bird species that have visited your bird feeders. So now it's added to our collection. We can go back to the home page and click on the collection here. And if we refresh, we can now see that the white-breasted nuthatch is in our collection. Now, if we click on the white-breasted nuthatch, and this one actually doesn't have any more data, but let's go to the northern cardinal that I already have in my collection. What this will do is it will give you some pictures, and it will show you what the bird looks like. It has attribute stuff, so it's going to give you how big it is, if it's nocturnal or diurnal. It even has a sound, so it'll give you the call of the species. It also has different stuff like habitat distribution areas, where it's located. It'll also tell you, you can learn more about this. And what this does is, if you have a new bird that visits your feeder, you can go in, you can learn about the species, and then you can find different ways to attract that species to your backyard. So I think this is a really cool option. I love that they've added this. For me, someone who likes to keep lists, I think it's a really cool thing that it actually gives you a video or photo that you can completely identify with that species, show that it visited your yard. I think this is a really great option. I think a lot of people are going to be able to use this to their advantage. And I think it's kind of like one of those collection things for people. So a little bit of like a trophy scenario in like a video game thing. So I think that's a really cool thing that they added. The next option open is community. And community is basically other Humbirdy Smart Bird Feeders throughout the world. And you can basically go in and you can see the different videos that other people share. It's basically like their own version of Facebook. And you can go on and you can see what other people have posted and what other birds they have attracted to their bird feeders. And it's just something that you can kind of scroll through and just kind of see the different bird species that are visiting other people's Humbirdy feeders. The next option is the store. And just like most smart bird feeders, this app also has a store feature, and this is going to have different deals and different smart bird feeders if they have them. This one is particular that they only have this Humbirdy, and this is kind of what they focus on. But you can go here and you can find different deals. If there's accessories that you would like for your smart bird feeder, this is where you would find them. And then finally, the last option is user. And this is where you're going to be able to set all your settings up for notifications or member services, different settings that you can have, also notifications. So one of the things that I do recommend is making sure that you have your notifications turned on. When a bird visits your feeder, it will attempt to identify the bird, and it's going to give you a notification of what bird came to your bird feeder. Overall, the app is very intuitive. It's very similar to other smart bird feeders on the market. But like I said, there is a feature that stands out with this one, and here's what we're going to do. So we're going to go back to the home page, and I've actually changed mine back because I did record a few videos like this. But this camera actually has a slow-mo feature. It actually films in 120 frames per second, which gets slowed down. Coming from a video background, it's if I do slow motion, it's one of the best ones to do. It's very smooth, it's very silky. So one of the things that you have is an option. You can choose to have it in 4K 30 frames per second, which is typically what you would see on TV. And this also has the 120 frames per second. It is in HD, so 1920 by 1080. However, I will tell you that this option is very cool from a videographer standpoint, just the fact that you can make a slow-mo video. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to go into the settings feature here, and if you go into the video settings, you can go to the recording mode at the top, and you're actually going to change it from the 4K Ultra HD mode to the 120 frames per second high frame rate mode. It will take a few seconds to get into the mode, and then if you scroll back to the home page, right here at the top right, you'll see that it now says slow-mo. And the way that basically works is you can actually have it both, so it will speed it up and it'll be in normal mode, or essentially what it is it takes away some of the motion blur in the video. So if we go here, we have a cardinal that visited our feeder here, and if you see down here at the bottom and you go to effects, it's going to create this slow-mo effect. So you can see it's working on that slow-mo effect right now, and it's creating the slow-mo. And now if you look back at the video, you can see that this video is in slow motion. So that is amazing. You can now export this video, which will go straight into your phone. Then you can share that video. You can also go back to the beginning, and you can see that it's in normal mode, or basically it changes it to 30 frames per second, which it takes away motion blur and stuff like that, which you won't really see from a sitting bird here. I know that's kind of like a lot of technical jargon, but essentially you can get the video in regular normal speed, and you can also slow it down to a slow-mo, which is awesome. I mean, this feature is something that none of the other smart feeders have. As a videographer who a lot of times likes to use slow motion in videos, it's an awesome feature that I think that they added in here. I mean, there's not a lot of things that you'll use as far as you're not going to get a lot of motion at the feeder, which is really what you would use a high frame rate for or slow motion for. But it's just a really cool feature that they added, and I think it's awesome. I mean, that's something that you can totally put on here. You can show your friends, you can share it. It's just a really awesome feature. I really like it. It's really great slow-mo. The image quality on this is great as well, and even on the 120 frames per second, which changes it to HD, it is a very good video quality, and then when you bump it up to the 4K, it gets even better. So overall, I'm really happy with this smart bird feeder. I just want to thank Humbirdy for reaching out and letting me test their smart bird feeder. I still have this feeder up, and I'm going to continue to use this feeder. A lot of the features on here are features that other smart bird feeders also have, but the slow-mo feature is something that just sets this apart from any other smart bird feeder. So if you're looking for something to just have some really cool videos on, I highly recommend this Humbirdy Smart Bird Feeder. I'm gonna leave links below for all the different things that I've talked about in this video. Again, I wanna thank Humbirdy for sending me this smart bird feeder. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more videos like this, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, get out and get birding.